My girlfriend hacked my phone and computer to snoop on me, and now she's telling our friends I'm the paranoid one. My name is Ethan, 31M, and I've been in a relationship with Amanda, 29F, for the past 4 years. From the outside, we probably look like the perfect couple. At least that's what everyone told us. Friends would always comment on how in sync we were, how lucky we were to have found each other. And for a while, it felt like that was true. But somewhere along the line, things took a turn, and I began to feel like I was living with a stranger. It all started subtly. Amanda would get unusually possessive when I spent time with my friends or stayed late at work. At first, it seemed normal, just your standard relationship insecurities. I brushed it off as nothing more than her wanting to be closer. After all, we were approaching the point where we talked about getting married, starting a family, the whole deal. But the small moments of jealousy quickly escalated into full-blown suspicion. One night, we were watching TV, and my phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a message from a coworker, Karen, asking about a project we were working on. I picked it up, answered quickly, and put the phone down, thinking nothing of it. But out of the corner of my eye, I can see Amanda glaring at me. "Who's texting you this late?" she asked, her voice sharp. "It's Karen from work. We're trying to finish a project," I replied, keeping my tone light, hoping to avoid a confrontation. Amanda didn't say anything, but I could feel the tension in the room spike. She shot me a look like I'd just confessed to a crime, and the rest of the evening was filled with an awkward silence. That night, as I lay in bed, I tried to shake off the weird vibe, telling myself she'd get over it. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of something far worse. A few weeks later, I started noticing strange things happening with my phone. I'd leave it charging on my nightstand and come back to find it in a different spot. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but then it became impossible to ignore. My phone would be unlocked, apps open that I hadn't used, and notifications that had already been read. I knew Amanda had been snooping, but I didn't confront her immediately. I thought maybe if I gave her the benefit of the doubt, things would cool down. Boy, was I wrong. One weekend, Amanda suggested we go out for a nice dinner, just the two of us. I thought it was her way of making amends, so I agreed. We went to this fancy restaurant downtown, and for the first time in weeks, things seemed normal. We laughed, talked about future plans, and for a brief moment, I felt like maybe we were going to be okay. That was until I went to the bathroom and came back to find her holding my phone. "What are you doing?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My heart started racing as I watched her scrolling through my messages. She didn't even look up. Just checking something. I stood there, stunned, as she continued to go through my private messages like it was the most normal thing in the world. Finally, she tossed the phone onto the table and glared at me. "You've been talking to Rachel," she said coldly. Rachel was an old friend from college, someone I hadn't even spoken to in months. I blinked, trying to make sense of what was happening. "What?" "Yeah, we talked, like once." "What's your point?" Amanda crossed her arms, her face twisted in anger. "Don't act like I'm stupid, Ethan. I know you're hiding things from me." It hit me like a ton of bricks. Amanda had officially crossed the line. This wasn't just insecurity anymore. This was full-on paranoia. I tried to explain that Rachel and I were just friends, that there was nothing going on, but she wouldn't hear it. Her mind was already made up, and that was when she dropped the bombshell. "I've been reading all your texts. Your emails too," she said, almost triumphantly. I felt like the ground had just been ripped out from under me. "You what?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Amanda had hacked into my phone, into my computer, into my entire life, all because she was convinced I was cheating. "I had to," she snapped. "You're too secretive, Ethan. I needed to know the truth." My head was spinning. This woman, the person I trusted for years, had violated my privacy in ways I couldn't even comprehend. And for what? Because she was jealous of a few harmless conversations. I stood up, my hands shaking. "You're insane," I muttered. This is crazy." But Amanda wasn't done. She launched into a tirade, accusing me of hiding things from her, of sneaking around behind her back, all while I stood there, completely dumbfounded. I couldn't get a word in edgewise, and honestly, I didn't even know what to say. I was so angry, so hurt, that I just grabbed my coat and left the restaurant. That night, I crashed at my friend Kyle's place. I needed space, time to figure out what the hell had just happened. But little did I know, things were about to get a whole lot worse. While I was gone, Amanda started telling our mutual friends that I was controlling, that I had been sneaking around and emotionally manipulating her. She even claimed that I had made her hack my phone because I was so paranoid about her talking to other guys. It was like she had flipped the entire situation on its head, and suddenly, I was the bad guy. My phone started blowing up with messages from our friends, asking what was going on, some of them outright accusing me of being controlling and paranoid. It was like a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. Amanda was spinning the narrative, making me out to be the villain, while she played the victim. After that night, everything started to spiral out of control. Amanda didn't just keep the accusations between us, she made it public. I woke up to my phone buzzing relentlessly with notifications, messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years, and posts on social media that made my blood boil. Amanda had painted this picture of me as the classic controlling boyfriend, paranoid, untrustworthy, and obsessed with keeping tabs on her. It was like she had created an entirely new version of our relationship, one where she was the victim and I was the villain. She'd gone as far as posting vague status updates on Facebook like, "When you finally realize the person you trusted was manipulating you all along," followed by countless comments from her friends and family, all offering her their support, reassuring her that she was strong for leaving a toxic situation. The comments felt like daggers, each one a reminder of how Amanda had twisted everything to her advantage. The hardest part was watching mutual friends buy into her lies. People I'd known for years suddenly started treating me differently. Some unfollowed me on social media, others stopped returning my calls. It was as if overnight, I'd been branded as someone I didn't even recognize. Amanda had everyone convinced that she was the victim, and I was the unstable, controlling boyfriend she had to escape. But while Amanda was spinning her web of lies, I was left dealing with the fallout. The invasion of my privacy was bad enough, but the constant whispers behind my back, the judgmental glances from friends we'd shared, made it unbearable. I was living in a state of constant anxiety, wondering who believed her lies, who saw me as the monster she'd had created. One evening, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I was done sitting on the sidelines, watching her manipulate everyone around us. I needed to confront her to set the record straight and demand answers. So I called her, determined to put an end to this madness. Amanda answered on the first ring, her voice cold and emotionless. "What do you want, Ethan?" "I want to know why you're doing this," I said, barely able to contain my anger. "Why are you lying to everyone? Why are you telling people I'm the one who's crazy when you're the one who hacked my phone and computer?" There was a long pause on the other end before she sighed dramatically. "I did it because you made me feel like I couldn't trust you," she said, her voice dripping with self-pity. "You were always hiding things from me, Ethan. Always sneaking around. What was I supposed to do? Just sit back and watch you betray me?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Betray you? Amanda, I've done nothing but be honest with you. You're the one who crossed every line possible. You invaded my privacy, you snooped through my messages, and now you're spreading lies about me to cover up your own insecurities." "I had to protect myself," she shouted, her voice suddenly rising with anger. "You think I wanted to do this? You gave me no choice. You made me feel like I was losing my mind." I was stunned by the audacity of her words. Amanda had become so wrapped up in her delusions that she genuinely believed she was the victim. There was no reasoning with her, no way to make her see the damage she was causing. It was like talking to a brick wall. "I'm done with this," I said finally, my voice shaking with frustration. "You need to stop telling people these lies. You need to stop playing the victim and take responsibility for what you've done." Amanda let out a bitter laugh. "Take responsibility? For what? For protecting myself from you? You're the one who can't handle the truth, Ethan. You've always been the one with control issues." Before I could respond, she hung up, leaving me standing there with the phone still pressed to my ear, speechless. I stared at the screen, my heart racing, my head spinning with anger and disbelief. How had things gotten so out of hand? How had the person I once loved turned into someone capable of this level of manipulation? Over the next few days, Amanda's lies continued to spread like wildfire. She ramped up her social media posts, dropping cryptic hints about how abusers always play the victim and how she'd have finally broken free from a toxic relationship. It was like she was feeding off the attention, using it to fuel her twisted narrative. One day, I received a text from our mutual friend Tyler, 32M, who had always been close to both of us. He wanted to meet up to talk. I hadn't seen Tyler in weeks, and given how many of our friends had distanced themselves from me, I was hesitant. But I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop, hoping I could at least explain my side of the story to someone who knew us both. When I arrived, Tyler was already sitting at a table, his expression serious. I could tell from the moment I sat down that this wasn't going to be a friendly chat. "Look, man," Tyler began, leaning forward, "I don't know what's going on between you and Amanda, but a lot of people are talking. She's saying some pretty heavy stuff." I clenched my jaw, fighting back the frustration that was building inside me. "She's lying, Tyler. She's been lying to everyone. I never did any of the things she's accusing me of." Tyler frowned, clearly conflicted. "She told us you were controlling, that you were constantly accusing her of cheating, and that you even made her hack into your phone because you were so paranoid." I shook my head in disbelief. "None of that is true. Amanda hacked my phone without my knowledge. She went through my messages, my emails. Everything? She's the one who's been paranoid, not me. She's turning this whole thing around to make me look like the bad guy." Tyler's expression softened slightly, but I could still see the doubt in his eyes. "I don't know, Ethan. I've known Amanda for a long time, and it's hard to believe she'd make something like this up." The frustration boiled over, and I slammed my fist on the table, causing a few heads to turn in our direction. "You have no idea what she's capable of, Tyler. She's manipulating everyone, and you're all falling for it." Tyler held up his hands, trying to calm me down. All right. Look, I just want to hear your side of the story. I'm not taking sides here." But I knew he already had. Everyone had. Amanda had won the sympathy vote, and I was the outsider in my own life. After that meeting, I realized something devastating. It didn't matter what I said or how much evidence I had. Amanda had already poisoned the well. She'd crafted her narrative so perfectly that no one wanted to believe anything different. They were all too caught up in her drama, too eager to play the role of supportive friends. I was the villain, and no amount of truth could change that. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. A few days after my conversation with Tyler, I received a message from one of Amanda's coworkers. She wanted to meet up in person and talk about something important. I had no idea what to expect, but I was desperate for any information that might help me clear my name. When we met, she dropped a bombshell that left me reeling. Amanda had been telling people at work that I had physically abused her during our relationship. Hearing that Amanda had gone so far as to accuse me of physical abuse was like being hit by a freight train. I sat there, staring at Amanda's coworker, barely able to process what she just told me. Physical abuse. That was a whole new level of accusation, something I never thought Amanda would stoop to, even in her twisted quest to paint herself as the victim. How long has she been saying this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The coworker, Claire, 29F, looked uncomfortable, shifting in her seat as she avoided eye contact. "I don't know exactly. A few weeks, maybe. She's mentioned it to a few people at work. It's not like she's broadcasting it or anything. But you know how rumors spread." I felt sick. It was bad enough that Amanda had been spinning her lies about me being controlling, paranoid, and emotionally abusive, but physical abuse, that crossed a line I couldn't ignore. This wasn't just about her reputation or mine. It was something that could ruin my life forever. If people started believing that I was capable of something like that, there was no coming back from it. Claire must have seen the panic on my face because she quickly added, "Look, I don't believe her, okay? That's why I wanted to tell you. Amanda's been off lately. She's not the person I thought she was." That was little comfort to me, though. The damage was already being done, and I knew how these things worked. Once a rumor like that took hold, it spread like wildfire, and trying to defend yourself only made you look guilty. I thanked Claire for telling me and left the cafe in a daze. My head was spinning, my heart pounding as I tried to figure out what the hell I was going to do next. The walls were closing in on me, and I could feel my grip on my life slipping away. I knew I couldn't let this go unchecked. I needed to confront Amanda to stop her from spreading these vicious lies before they consumed everything. But I also knew that confronting her directly wouldn't solve anything. She was already in too deep, and there was no way she'd admit to making it up, not when she had so many people believing her. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went to the police. I sat in the station for hours, waiting to speak to an officer about what was happening. When I finally got a chance to explain everything, from the phone hacking to the social media posts to the physical abuse allegations, the officer looked at me with a mixture of skepticism and sympathy. "We hear things like this a lot," he said, his voice measured and calm. "Unfortunately, these situations tend to turn into a he said, she said kind of thing. Without any concrete evidence, it's hard for us to take action." I felt like screaming. How was I supposed to prove I hadn't done something? How was I supposed to defend myself against lies that Amanda had carefully crafted to make me look guilty? The officer took down my statement, gave me a few suggestions for legal options, and sent me on my way. It was a dead end. I was on my own. As I left the station, I started to realize just how dire my situation had become. Amanda had already convinced most of our friends that I was the bad guy. Now she was taking it a step further, spreading rumors that could not only destroy my reputation but also get me arrested if anyone believed her. I needed to get ahead of this. I needed to fight back, but I didn't know how. The next few days were a blur of anxiety and desperation. I barely slept, constantly checking my phone for any updates, any new accusations Amanda might have thrown my way. Every time my phone buzzed with a notification, my stomach twisted into knots, fearing it was another bombshell. It didn't take long for the abuse rumors to start spreading beyond Amanda's workplace. Mutual friends began reaching out, some out of concern, others with thinly veiled accusations. "Hey, man, I just heard something from Amanda. I don't want to believe it, but did something happen between you two?" Each conversation felt like a fresh stab to the gut. No matter how much I denied it, no matter how much I tried to explain that Amanda was lying, the doubt lingered in their voices. I could feel it. The more I defended myself, the more guilty I seemed. I was stuck in a vicious cycle, one that Amanda had expertly orchestrated. I needed to find a way to expose her lies to prove that I wasn't the monster she'd made me out to be. But how? She had control of the narrative, and I had nothing but my word against hers. That's when I remembered something: my laptop. Amanda had hacked into my phone and computer to snoop through my messages. She hadn't been as careful as she thought. I spent hours combing through my devices, looking for any sign of what she'd done. I was desperate for anything that could serve as proof of her invasion of my privacy, something I could use to discredit her. And finally, I found it. Deep in the computer's security logs, I discovered traces of Amanda's unauthorized access. It wasn't much, but it was enough to show that she'd hacked into my accounts. I took screenshots, documenting everything, making sure I had a paper trail that could back up my story. Armed with this new evidence, I went back to the police. This time, they took me more seriously. The officer who had dismissed me before now saw that I wasn't just making baseless claims. I wasn't just a guy trying to get back at his ex. I had proof that Amanda had violated my privacy. They filed a report and gave me the option to pursue legal action. It was a small victory, but it felt like I was finally gaining some ground. For the first time since this nightmare began, I had something tangible, something that could counter Amanda's lies. But even with this small win, the damage was already done. The rumors continued to spread, and every time I had thought things might be settling down, Amanda would find a new way to escalate the situation. She started hinting at things online, making cryptic posts about how the truth would come out eventually, and some people can't hide who they really are forever. It was infuriating. She was playing the long game, and I didn't know how much more I could take. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Amanda took it to the next level. One night, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a screenshot of a Facebook post from Amanda's profile, along with a photo that made my blood run cold. It was a picture of her standing in front of what looked like a bruise on her arm. The caption read, "It's time to stop pretending. #survivor, #enough as a no." I stared at the photo, my heart racing. This was it. Amanda was going all in, trying to frame me for physical abuse, and she had the fake evidence to back it up. I knew in that moment that this was no longer just a battle for my reputation. This was a fight for my freedom. I couldn't breathe as I stared at the photo Amanda had posted. The accusation, the manipulation. It was all too much. The picture of the bruise on her arm, combined with her cryptic hashtags, was designed to make everyone think that I physically hurt her. She was taking this to an entirely new level, and it hit me like a freight train. My hands shook as I scrolled through the comments beneath the post. People I knew, friends we had shared, were chiming in with support, expressing outrage at what they believed I had done. It was sickening, watching how easily Amanda was able to manipulate everyone. She knew exactly what to say, how to twist the knife just enough to make it impossible for me to fight back without looking like the bad guy. The more I denied it, the more people would believe her. I needed to act quickly. I took screenshots of her post, the comments, everything. But I knew that alone wouldn't be enough. Amanda was painting me as an abuser, and it wouldn't be long before this escalated beyond social media. She was relentless, and I was running out of time. The next morning, I received a call from my lawyer. I had already contacted him after discovering Amanda's illegal access to my phone and computer, but now things had shifted to a much more dangerous level. He was serious as he spoke, laying out the situation in stark terms. Look, this is getting ugly. If she's claiming physical abuse and she's posting pictures of bruises, this could turn into a legal matter very quickly. You could be facing criminal charges if she files a report with the police. I felt a knot form in my stomach. The mere idea of being accused of something so heinous, something I would never do, made my skin crawl. I was terrified. What would happen if she actually went through with it? If Amanda convinced the authorities that I had hurt her, it could destroy everything. My career, my future, everything I'd worked for would be gone in an instant. I have proof that she's been lying. I told my lawyer. I have evidence that she hacked into my phone and computer, and now she's making up these abuse claims to cover her tracks. That's a start, he said, but his tone was cautious. But here's the thing. Abuse claims are serious. Even with proof that she's been deceitful, it might not be enough to counteract the impact of a physical abuse accusation, especially if she has people backing her up. I wanted to scream. How had it come to this? How had Amanda gone from being the woman I loved to this manipulative monster, willing to ruin me just to protect her own lies? It was like I didn't even recognize her anymore. The Amanda I had known was gone, replaced by someone I didn't understand, someone who would do whatever it took to destroy me. We need to get ahead of this, my lawyer said. You can't wait for her to escalate. You need to file for a restraining order. Bring the evidence you have about the phone hacking, and start building a case against her. The longer this drags on, the worse it's going to get. I nodded, though my stomach churned with dread. This wasn't a battle I wanted to fight, but Amanda had left me no choice. She was already playing the victim, and if I didn't act fast, her lies would bury me alive. I filed for the restraining order that same day, gathering all the evidence I had. The screenshots, the security logs showing Amanda's unauthorized access, the messages I had received from mutual friends expressing doubt about her claims. It all went into the file. I had to hope that it would be enough. But even as I took these steps, Amanda wasn't slowing down. She was already spreading the narrative that I was trying to silence her, that my legal actions were nothing more than a way to intimidate her into dropping her accusations. It was infuriating how easily she turned everything I did against me. A few days later, I got a call from a friend I hadn't spoken to in weeks. Daniel, 31M. He sounded hesitant, almost apologetic as he explained why he hadn't reached out sooner. I didn't know if I should call you, man, Daniel said. Amanda's been telling everyone, well, you know what she's saying. I wasn't sure what to believe, but then I saw the post she made about the bruise, and it just didn't sit right with me. I felt a spark of hope. Daniel had always been a good friend, one of the few people I thought might still believe me. She's lying, Dan. I didn't touch her. She's making all this up to cover her own tracks. I found out she hacked into my phone and computer to spy on me, and now she's trying to make me out to be the bad guy. Daniel sighed. I don't know what's going on, but something's definitely off with her. I don't think you'd ever hurt her, but man, people are starting to talk. If she files a police report, you're going to be in serious trouble. It was a relief to know that at least one person believed me, but Daniel's warning still weighed heavily on my mind. Amanda was unpredictable. She had already gone so far as to fake physical abuse claims. What else was she capable of? As the days passed, I found myself trapped in a waiting game, constantly checking my phone for any new developments. The restraining order had been filed, but it felt like only a temporary shield against the storm that Amanda was brewing. She wasn't backing down. If anything, she seemed to be reveling in the attention, using her platform to spread more lies and garner sympathy. I couldn't sleep. Every night, I lay awake replaying every moment of my relationship with Amanda, trying to figure out where it had all gone wrong. How had I missed the signs? How had I not seen who she really was beneath the surface? And then, one night, my phone buzzed with a message that made my blood run cold. It was from Amanda. "Hope you're happy with yourself. You'll regret this." My heart raced as I read the words. Was this a threat? Was she planning something else, something worse? I didn't know how much more I could take. Amanda had already turned my life upside down. What else was she capable of? I blocked her number, my hands shaking as I tried to steady my breathing. I needed to stay focused. I needed to stay one step ahead of her. But it felt like I was losing control, like no matter what I did, Amanda was always one move ahead. The days dragged on, with tension reaching its boiling point. I could feel Amanda closing in, her lies weaving a web that tightened around me, suffocating every aspect of my life. My lawyer had assured me that the restraining order was in place, but it wasn't enough to quiet the growing storm Amanda had unleashed. People in my life were beginning to distance themselves, friends, coworkers, even family. I could see it in their eyes, the unspoken question. What if Amanda's telling the truth? I spent countless nights staring at my phone, dreading the next social media post, the next cryptic message from Amanda. It was like she was always one step ahead, anticipating every move I made. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. One morning, I woke up to a series of missed calls and frantic text messages. My heart sank as I unlocked my phone, fearing the worst. And there it was, a video Amanda had posted, one that had already gone viral. The video showed her sitting on the edge of our old bed, tears streaming down her face. She spoke softly, her voice shaking, as she recounted the abuse I had allegedly put her through. She described how I had manipulated and controlled her, how I had driven her to desperation by hacking her devices, monitoring her every move, and accusing her of things she hadn't done. "I just couldn't take it anymore," she said in the video, her eyes glassy and filled with fake sincerity. "I was so scared. He made me feel like I was losing my mind." She went on to say that she had been forced to take drastic measures to protect herself, painting me as the monster in our story. It was a masterclass in manipulation, the way she twisted the truth to fit her narrative. She framed the phone hacking as something I had done to her, claiming I had gone through her private messages and emails to control her. She even mentioned the restraining order, making it sound like I had filed it to keep her silent. But the worst part, the part that made me want to scream, was when Amanda casually dropped a bombshell that I had never expected. "I found out he's been cheating on me this whole time," she said, her voice breaking. "With my best friend." My head spun as I processed what she had just said. Amanda wasn't just lying, she was fabricating an entire alternate reality where I was the villain, the unfaithful one. My stomach turned as I imagined what people would think, how they would react. She had taken every horrible thing she'd done and pinned it on me. The comments under the video were already piling up, full of people offering their support, expressing outrage, and sharing their own stories of toxic relationships. Amanda had succeeded. She had turned the narrative completely in her favor, and I was powerless to stop her. I called my lawyer, my voice trembling with anger and desperation. "You need to see the video she just posted," I said, barely able to contain the fury in my chest. "She's claiming that I'm the one who's been cheating. She's flipped everything around." There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and I could tell my lawyer was trying to formulate a response that wouldn't send me over the edge. "This is bad," he finally said, his tone grim. "This video is going to complicate things. We need to act fast." But it felt like acting fast wasn't fast enough. The damage was already done. The video had gone viral, and Amanda's narrative was now the prevailing story. My friends, my family, everyone I had ever known was starting to look at me like a stranger. They believed her. Of course, they believed her. It didn't matter how much evidence I had, how many screenshots and logs I could show them. The court of public opinion had already made its ruling. And Amanda, she was relishing it. She posted follow-ups to the video, responding to comments, thanking people for their support. She was riding the wave of sympathy, her victimhood narrative cementing her place as the wronged woman, while I was cast as the controlling, abusive boyfriend. A few days after the video went live, I received a text from Amanda's best friend, Jess. 28F. Jess had always been a bit of an enabler when it came to Amanda, but this text hit differently. "Your F *** kid," it read. "She's got you right where she wants you." My hands shook as I read it. This wasn't just about lies and manipulation anymore. This was a full-on takedown. Amanda had weaponized every part of our relationship against me, twisting it into something unrecognizable. And now she had a legion of people behind her, all of them convinced that I was the monster she had painted me as. The next few weeks were a blur of legal battles and public humiliation. Every move I made seemed futile. Every attempt to clear my name drowned out by the overwhelming support Amanda was receiving. She was a master manipulator, and I had been naive to think that the truth would matter in a world where perception was reality. One afternoon, I received a call from my lawyer. He sounded exhausted, beaten down. "I have some news," he said. "It's about the restraining order." "What about it?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "It's been overturned." I nearly dropped the phone. "What? How?" "She filed a counterclaim, alleging that you were the one harassing her. With the video she posted and the support she's gathered, the judge ruled in her favor." "I'm sorry." I sank into a chair, feeling the world collapse around me. This was it. Amanda had won. She had taken everything, my reputation, my relationships, my sense of safety, and torn it to shreds. And now, with the restraining order overturned, there was nothing stopping her from continuing to dismantle my life piece by piece. I thought about releasing my own video, about exposing the truth for everyone to see. But I knew it wouldn't work. Amanda had created a story that people wanted to believe. She was the victim, and I was the villain. Nothing I could say or do would change that. In the end, I realized that there was no way to win. Amanda had taken the game to a level I hadn't anticipated, and she was playing by rules I couldn't even comprehend. She'd turned my life into a nightmare, and there was no waking up from it. As I sat in the quiet of my apartment, the weight of it all pressing down on me, I knew one thing for certain. Amanda had taken everything from me, and there was no coming back from this. The person I had once loved had become my worst enemy, and in the battle for control, she had won.